I am your kid critic Jack Mooney, and today I'm ranking the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. 13 is going to have to go to Thor: The Dark World. Now this movie is boring, it's bland, and it probably has the most forgettable villain in the MCU. The reason why I just didn't really like this movie is, A, it seemed like nobody really wanted to be in it, especially Natalie Portman. It just definitely seemed like she was phoning it in. Didn't have any interest in playing Jane anymore. The script was messy and all over the place, and it had a really weird humor, especially from Kat Dennings. She thinks she's funny, but she's not. And the movie just falls apart, and it's definitely not worth watching. Don't see this movie. It's the worst in the MCU. Number 12 is going to have to go to The Incredible Hulk. Now this movie actually had potential. I remember seeing the trailers and thinking this looks a lot better than Ang Lee's Hulk in 2003. And after seeing the movie, yeah, it was pretty okay. I remember the beginning action scene in Spain over the rooftops of the buildings was really cool and epic, and there was a great deal of emotion in the film. I remember feeling bad for Bruce Banner with his condition of Hulk and how he just kind of felt bad for himself, and it was really well written, and it's probably the best portrayal of Bruce Banner in film so far. Though that's about it with the positives, and the movie just fell apart at the end scene and when Hulk fought against Abomination. It just was all over the place and really unnecessary. Another bad villain in the MCU. Number 11 was a movie I remember being really anticipated for. I actually think it was my most anticipated movie for the year, though it really fell flat in the end, and that's Iron Man 3. In the trailers with the Mandarin and him being a terrorist, it just looks scary, and I remember thinking, man, this is a huge change up in the MCU. It looks darker and scarier, similar to DC. Though, spoiler alert, after seeing the movie, Ben Kingsley really isn't the Mandarin, and he's just an actor. And Guy Pearce is the real Mandarin, and yeah, really bad villain, once again. And just after that, these movies, a lot of these Marvel movies, halfway through the movies, they just kind of go downhill, and they're not as good as the beginning. And this was the case with Iron Man 3. The ending was just things exploding and pointless. So yeah, Iron Man 3, very disappointing. You can definitely tell the absence of Jon Favreau not directing. Number 10 is going to have to go to Captain America: The First Avenger. Now this was a pretty good movie. It was action-packed and it was entertaining. I remember I liked how they put Captain America in the World War II setting. And one of my favorite scenes is when they were using Captain America as a form of propaganda and in these like little skits where he would beat up Hitler and the Nazis. And I just liked how they put Captain America in World War II. It was a nice twist on it. Though the movies seemed to get pretty silly at times, and once again, that another bad villain. He was underused, and they chose the wrong actor, Hugo Weaving. He just didn't seem to be in the character of Red Skull at all, which was disappointing. But overall, it's a pretty good movie. I recommend seeing Captain America: The First Avenger. 9 goes to Iron Man 2. Now overall, this is a pretty good movie. Not to say that, yeah, there were some pretty silly and awful parts of the movie, but just overall, it was a good movie. Some of the things I liked is the comedy is spot on. Robert Downey Jr. and the rest of the cast, they're pretty funny, and it's probably one of the best superhero movies with comedy involved. And I also like the visual effects and the use of like his Iron Man suits. I remember this was the one where he had the briefcase, and it just kind of opened up, and you'll have to see the movie, but it's really cool. And the racetrack scene, it was intense, and you really saw that Robert Downey Jr.'s character of Tony Stark was scared of Whiplash, and you don't really see that a lot, and that was a pretty cool scene. But yeah, there were some pretty silly scenes in this movie. There was a scene where Tony Stark got drunk and he fought against War Machine, and it did get over the top, especially at the end. And Whiplash really wasn't a good villain. Yeah, there isn't really a lot of good villains in the MCU films. But just overall, pretty entertaining film. Number 8 is going to be a film that might surprise a lot of you of how low it is on my list, and that is Ant-Man. Now, I'm not saying Ant-Man's a bad movie, it's just not my favorite MCU movie. What I liked about the film is, once again, it's really funny. Paul Rudd and Michael Pena stole the show. They were hilarious, and that's probably because Adam McKay wrote the film. It's just really funny, and, Ant-Man doesn't really take himself seriously, which is why this movie is actually pretty good. And I also like that there was a emotion in the film. Paul Rudd cared for his daughter deeply, and it kind of there was a barrier that his ex-wife wasn't allowing him to see her a lot because he was a criminal and he's been in prison before. And spoiler alert, at the end of the film, he goes into another dimension, and Michael Douglas's character said, "Don't press this button." And he goes into this other realm, and there's emotion for especially his daughter of will he survive or will he not.
Yeah.